welcome to the Aidan Mack Show. There are so many things happening that have been happening this week and last week, so I'm really excited to share a lot of them with you during the show. So, first, I wanted to talk about Halloween. I was really excited. I went as Medusa, and here's what I looked like. That was me. Ooh, scary, right? So, I chose this particular character because I felt like she really represents strong women who fight for their rights, who become successful no matter what, who are emotionally, financially independent, and who really strive on their independence and can do things on their own. They really follow the motto of I can. So, all along, there have been a lot of women who fit that profile, and men have consistently put labels on them and put them down for that type of strength. So I really felt like Medusa represents that type of woman and something I relate to. I also talked about it on a video blog that I did because somebody was putting me down over something, and I guess that guy who was doing it expected me just to kind of sit back and not say anything about it and accept that kind of abuse, and I didn't, and he called me Medusa, which was actually really great because it helped me create this character. And because I'm short on cash, I went with this costume also because it was only $14.99, something I could afford. So I'm glad that worked out, and I hope you had a good Halloween as well. So now for Aidan Mack's Hot Topics, there's so much that goes on in the deaf community, and lately things have been really, really heated. So there are certain issues that are particularly hot, and a lot of them have to do with just the information and how it gets communicated within the deaf community. A lot of people don't know what to believe. I mean, there are so many personalities involved, so much politics that goes on, and I will talk now about one of the issues in the deaf community: schools. And deaf schools really are in crisis right now. I mean, I'm specifically talking about children who are deaf and use sign language. Certain schools are in the process of finding a new CEO and superintendent, and they're really focusing on bilingual education for deaf kids because American Sign Language especially is their birthright, and they're really on the search for the right type of person, somebody who's qualified, somebody who's going to be committed to running the schools the right way. Historically, a lot of deaf schools have been closing. I think 11 of them have closed recently, which is totally heartbreaking. And really, deaf schools have always been the epicenter for a deaf culture and language. And this is where we met our role models and deaf teachers, where we met each other and learned sign language from each other and made connections and just found mentors, talked about various types of subjects in the dorms at schools for the deaf. People really, really grew their sign language skills. Everyone, has experienced being mischievous and playing around. This is something that we deserve as deaf people. And so deaf schools are really, really important. So there's really concern about the future of deaf schools and really finding the right person, the right superintendent, somebody who really will be supportive and advocate for American Sign Language and not make another school for the deaf into an oral school, so to speak, which uses speech. And now I'm going to specifically discuss the West Pennsylvania School for the Deaf. They are in dire need of a new leader. And a lot of the teachers there who've been involved in this particular search are really so adamant about it that they've gone on a hunger strike, and others are not actually supportive of that particular action. So a lot of times there is a little bit of a disconnect in how they communicate with school and then at home, and a lot of people are really frustrated, and so much of what they believe in has been really deprived and not given to deaf children, and so they have to teach all of these concepts all over again because deaf children don't get that type of support, linguistic support at home. So a lot of them are so frustrated, and 3 particular staff have decided to go on strike, a hunger strike, and they really wanted to spread the message. Enough is enough, and it's really time for deaf children to have access to bilingual education. It is their birthright. Enough of these unqualified teachers who use sim-comming, which like simultaneous communication, speaking English and signing at the same time, which is really awkward. And most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, speech actually takes over and the sign language is what's lacking. And so deaf students are missing a lot. They don't understand the message. They often miss facts. They can't fully focus on the one language. And what's worse is that their native language, American Sign Language, these teachers aren't even fluent in. So there's just a lot of problems with that. And they struggle with reading and writing, and as a result, they struggle succeeding in the world. So this is such a frustrating issue in the deaf community, and that's another reason for this strike. So this is out there going on right now, but there is a divide, as I mentioned. There are some staff who are involved who are against it, or they feel like, oh, it's not a big deal. There's a little bit of confusion here and there, but really, kids do get bilingual education, and they do have enough education. So their particular superintendent is not really that strong, in communicating. And so right now, the focus is really on bilingual education, but their superintendent is not very um, focused on that. And the money that the school is getting is not going toward that particular issue. So it hasn't been successful, and that's the reason for the strike, and that has caused a divide between all those involved. And some people are just confused. They don't know what to believe. They don't know whom to support. There's so much that goes on, and they are struggling in finding out what the real truth is, whom to believe, what all the issues are, and it's just so complicated. And I wanted to mention, as you know, a very famous leader in India, Mahatma Gandhi. He fought against British domination of India and wanted to make it clear that he refused to accept this position of India in the world, where Britain felt like they were better than Indians. And he basically said, I will not tolerate it. He went on a very long hunger strike, and he had gained 8,000 supporters and followers. And of course, that was bad news for India. Bad news for England, because they didn't want that type of negative publicity. So he was successful as a result, because he got what he wanted, and he really had strength in numbers. Very few people succeed unless they have that type of power with strength in numbers, because they're not going to be listened to if it's only 2 or 3 people who are trying to make a point. But as long as you have a lot of supporters, you really can do well. So we'll see what happens with this issue in the deaf community as well. And while we're on the subject of leadership, leadership in the deaf community is such a mess. Leaders in the deaf community are, we have such a difficult time finding strong leaders who really are focused on the goal, who don't get involved in oppression and putting each other down and bringing each other, just spreading negativity. It's just so difficult. So for a lot of years, historically, this has been an issue. A lot of people are egotistic. They only think about their own benefit. They only think about serving themselves. Others just don't feel like they need to get too involved. They just take it easy. They let things slide. They don't actually focus on really difficult issues and do their own thing. And they don't get too involved in the dirty business. They don't get too involved in the fights. And then others feel like they're too good for everyone. They're just better than everyone. They feel like they will only talk to certain people, but not others. That others are just not good enough to talk to them, not good enough to deal with them, and they will just push everyone else away. And this type of attitude, where they're just focused on themselves and not trying to support others, and not trying to really support issues, is what I feel like causes a lot of the divide. And instead of finding unity and believing in a common goal and supporting each other, which really could be, for example, right now, bilingual education. We all can get together theoretically and just support this one particular goal. regardless of how we feel about each other and personalities and all that. But this is not happening, and so many emotions are involved. People start getting into arguments, issues become controversial, and who cares about politics? Who cares about feelings and opinions? We really need to see facts. Facts are what is going to make a difference, and they don't see that. It's just so difficult and frustrating. And historically, in the deaf community, our lives, our education, the oppression, our work oppression in the workplace, access to information, and just all of this, all of the turmoil that has been going on, the hurricane of issues and problems, everything is, it's time to clean it up. It's time to start fresh, and it's time to identify what we want, what it is that we're trying to achieve, and go for it, really fight for it. So I really would love to see this type of success in the deaf community where we can put aside our differences and really find one unity. And it's really, if someone is a gifted child, someone who is really good at science and math and philosophy and every subject there is, but can't learn because they are told to only speak English or only to develop their speech, and the sign language is just not good enough in order to discuss these subjects, and they really try so hard just to be good at school, but instead all the focus is on how good they speak or how well they hear. That's it. The gift is gone. The gift no longer is of value because so much focus is now on things that are not, in my opinion, important. Why not give them the language that they already have access to? There are so many, so many sign languages, Spanish, Russian, whatever, as long as you have access to them and you have access to discussions in the different subjects, but as long as it's in your language. It is so important, and it's such a vital part of development. But all of these different philosophies on speech and how to educate deaf children, I really wish that they would just understand that natural language that is given to deaf people is so, so important, and that literacy and that overall development is only going to develop through that language. So I really wish them well, and I hope that all of these issues can be cleaned up and we can start fresh. I believe we have a dream, just like Martin Luther King said, we have a dream. And now, on to Starbucks. So what's going on at Starbucks? There's a woman in Arizona who worked there for several years, and she was very motivated to start training and going to meetings with other staff and events. But she started to be told that interpreters weren't available for these meetings, and that made her extremely frustrated. So she decided to go to Equal Opportunity Human Resources Department and has filed a complaint against them. She basically explained that what they're doing is against the law, and they said, well, you have visible tattoos. And she said, this has nothing to do with anything. A lot of employees have visible tattoos. And again, it's, a lot of businesses experience this. The staff have their tattoos. So she felt that their argument was inappropriate, and for Starbucks not to be able to put money aside to hire interpreters for meetings that she should have been able to attend was really discriminatory. So clearly this was not something that was going on with other staff who were able to hear. So we will see what becomes of this case. She's taking it to court, and we'll go from there. Well, here's another story about Starbucks. So what's going on there? Someone apparently at Starbucks has decided to install a video camera in the drive-thru, and this particular video has gone viral. It has been seen by thousands now, and apparently it just shows a deaf woman driving through Starbucks. Of course, we've all experienced this as deaf people, where you're trying to pick up your order just like anybody else, and of course you can't hear what's being said over the microphone, so you're feeling for it, you're trying to use your speech to try to express your order, and it's absolutely useless most of the time. It's very frustrating. But in this particular case, the woman is able to drive through the window at Starbucks and is being greeted in sign language. So this was a completely natural way for her to communicate, and wonderful. And I think it's a really great way to offer that kind of accessibility. I hope it's done in more places. I think it's a wonderful idea, and I want to congratulate Starbucks on doing something right and providing interpreters for their drive-through window. Thank you. Now on to Aidan Mack's food. Well, first, I'll talk about Chipotle. So, really want to warn everyone, be very, very careful. I recently took my friends to Chipotle. This was actually a couple years ago. I was at a different state, and we were eating Chipotle, and then for weeks and weeks and weeks, we got so ill. Apparently, at that time, things had been happening at Chipotle. I mean, I don't go there very often myself. I think it's kind of disgusting, but they did have E. coli present in their food. And it makes you very ill, very weak. It can cause nerve damage. It can make you just very, very weak and uncomfortable and break down your whole system. So you really have to be careful when you eat in fast food restaurants. I mean, E. coli is not fun. And now I'd like to talk about how I eat. I'm just looking at this picture is making me thirsty. Give me one moment. Take a sip of water. I really thought I could get through the whole show without taking a sip of water, but darn, I did have to, so excuse me. So I recently made a smoothie, which turned out to be quite delicious. I mean, I make smoothies every morning. I put strawberries and bananas, blackberries, blueberries. I mean, whatever I have. Um, Pineapples, watermelons, just all kinds of fruits I throw in there. You can put kale, other greens, other veggies. So I make that every morning, and I drink that. You can put chia seeds. You can put protein powder and other types of supplements. I work out a lot, so in order to avoid muscle pain, this particular smoothie actually does help me a lot. So my roommate thought that I would lose weight from it and become too thin unless I was eating something else. But I was really sick of eating eggs every morning, and just like I really felt that it was getting to be too much, that I was only relying on eggs for protein. So I decided that I really wanted to. I mean, I'm so active during the day that I really need to stay alert. So I decided to make balsamic vinaigrette, pour balsamic vinaigrette in there, and throw in some garlic and onions, and even tomatoes. Put in some herbs and mix it all together. And usually I try to avoid salt, actually. So I usually don't add any salt to whatever I eat. If you come to my house, you will not find any salt. But I kind of made this vinaigrette, and then I put it on a sandwich with tomato, and it was absolutely delicious. So if maybe you're trying to manage your weight and you follow these particular recipes, it might help with weight management, but it will also be delicious. All right, now I'd like to talk about my opinion. I love sharing my opinion, so this segment is called Aidan Mack's Opinion. This has to do with a company called Convo. I went to an event that they were sponsoring last month in October. I mean, it was attended by just a ginormous group of people. Everyone was there from other states, from other cities. There's so many deaf people in attendance, and not just deaf people, but the event was actually in honor of Nal DeMarco. A lot of people know him from television, and I believe he's an inspiration to a lot of people in the deaf community. He's just a genuinely good guy. He comes from a deaf family. He has a good heart. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He's very open about how he feels about things, and sincere. And he's been acting. He's on America's Next Top Model right now as we speak. It's on television. He has yet to be eliminated. He's like in the top 4 right now. So really, I feel like it's time for the mainstream audiences to see that deaf people really are versatile, can do a lot, and this should be celebrated. So this event was in his honor, and I was just sitting back and looking at everybody, and a lot of people were so starstruck with him. They were like, "Oh my God, this is not DeMarco. It's so amazing. He's such a star. Oh my God, wow! I just can't believe it." And I just felt like the Convo staff who were there did a really great show of running the event. They were very respectful and making sure that other people were respectful as well. And I really enjoyed myself. I felt like it was really well done. Okay, now um, I would like to discuss this particular video that was done. It's called Beyoutiful. That's how it's spelled. And it, there are a lot of issues that I feel like are involved in this. So I'll explain what it is first. A lot of people, may not know what Convo is, but as I said, they are a company. They provide communication through video phones. They provide interpreters as well as captioning and texting, so you're able to communicate in various ways. If you are deaf, you can call a hearing person who doesn't know sign language, and then an interpreter or a captioner will be able to facilitate that communication. So the phone conversations can be quite smooth. I mean, I think their interpreters are really great, and they really are fluent in sign language. They are qualified. I really do love their interpreters. And my point about this particular segment with Beyoutiful is the history behind it. So what it is that there are, I believe that a lot of media is focused on women and the image and how they are physically, what they look like. And so this is something that a lot of us fight against. So I'm a little bit annoyed that they use like outdated, I would say, vision of what a woman should look like. So now, Convo is, especially with someone like Niall DeMarco. I mean, obviously, look at him. He is like the perfect image of this like model and the perfect body. So I really feel like maybe it's a little bit uninclusive of people who don't look like a perfect model, don't have that model body. So for Convo to really label him as kind of this like perfect image of beautiful is a little bit offensive to me, because so many of us have been fighting to break down the image of the perfect body, the perfect model, that there are a lot of attributes that are more important, not just one way should be considered beautiful. So I really wish that they would sort of get away from that perfect image, perfect looks, perfect body. And the beauty industry is, what kind of perpetuates that. So after all this work we've done, they select a model to represent that concept of beautiful. So it's a little bit bothersome to me, but essentially, the words, the way that they've spelled beautiful, is the focus is on being yourself. So be beautiful. You can be deaf, but you're also smart. You're also good looking. You're also interesting. You're also an intellectual. And a lot of people feel like they haven't met a confident deaf person or whatever. So the essence is be yourself. That's who you are. So to me, it's a little bit like, they're playing with word beautiful. I feel like it does not exactly express what they're trying to express. Maybe not the best word for it, because be beautiful. I mean, why are you trying to still focus on the looks, by saying beautiful? Anyway, so my point is that yes, everybody is beautiful. There's been so many fights and struggles against this kind of perfect image of beauty, and I believe that every woman can be beautiful. But of course, here in this picture, you've got beautiful women, such variety in how they look, and yet they're still beautiful. So much diversity, and I feel like that's what women are fighting for. So I really feel like it should be known that this is something that people we still care about, and that image of perfect beauty should be broken down, and we should, pay attention to what words we use to express ourselves. Here's something that I wanted to talk about. Lyft, the car service that's a competitor to Uber. Everyone knows about Uber, and this is a similar company. It's so easy to use. It has a special app that lets you select a cab near to you, and they just come and pick you up. It's so easy. And so what happened in this instance is the driver was just driving, and then suddenly someone jumped out of the car, and this girl ran to the police and said they were trying to abduct me, and they were trying to take me somewhere. It turned out that the driver was deaf, and this particular person was telling the driver, "Stop, stop! I want to go here." The driver couldn't hear her, and so this turned into a really awkward situation. It looked like an abduction, but it was actually not at all an abduction. It was just a misunderstanding between a driver who couldn't hear and a passenger. But what an amazing story, huh?